So the beauty of these nanoparticles, these nanorods, as I say, you can tune them to a wavelength. So what we do with them is we inject them into a tumor. Once injected, we then point a near-infrared light source. It passes harmlessly through about 2.5 centimeters of tissue, so it doesn't hurt the tissue in the meantime. But when it hits those gold nanorods, they start to vibrate. And that vibration causes heat. Heat kills cancer.
He's James Collins.
He is Alec Cranston, and this is the Matter of Facts podcast. The Matter of Facts podcast brings you the unsung heroes, the unsung stories, news and happenings from across our wonderful city that you maybe thought happened but didn't quite know the truth behind.
And get you all in the loop on what's going on, what's to come, and what can we be prepared for.
Thank you for joining us. We are back. This is another fresh episode of Matter of Facts, and this is a milestone for us because it is our 100th episode.
What?
It's not. Oh, we got a long way to go.
I was like, damn, time is flying. I think we're at we do 12 a year, right? To do one. This year's been a bit different, I think. We kind of did a couple episodes twice in a month. But by the end of the season, we should be at about 36.
Yeah.
40-ish.
Well, we've not been in the studio together, Alec and I. So, it is the summer right now. Schedules are a little flaky. Guests are a little flaky. We have not sat down properly in about 2 months. So good to see you, Alec.
Yeah, good to see you, man. We were separate the last episode. You had a special guest host, which was amazing.
All the way from Norway.
Norway, that's good. And I soloed an interview, so it was great. So that's why I was excited to. We had some guests lined up, and unfortunately their schedules got a little busy. And that's okay. We are going to get them in. We're going to talk to them.
We always have a guest. Maybe time warpy, but we always have a guest.
We always have a guest. It makes its way in.
How has your summer been? Are you still married?
I'm still married. Things are going really well. We're trying to focus on the careers for now, and then we'll get to that. But it's good. It's nice. We always say once the marriage was taking place in January, we came home, and now we're not really. We can kind of focus on living for a bit. We planned the wedding for so long, and we first bought the house and all that. So just so many things back to back. But now we can focus on living and work. Hockey season starts soon for me, so I'm sure she's not thrilled about that. Back to me being gone 4 nights a week. But who am I to say about that to you being gone for stuff? Because you've been very busy lately, Mr. Collins.
Very busy, very, very busy with the Susie's Lake wildfire, which when we're recording this was last week. So I was 60 hours over the last part of the week. Anytime I was home, I was trying to sleep. And my wife is a hero for putting up with that. So it's been a busy week. I need to mention something funny. I just realized this morning. I think about Alec a lot in the shower, and I had a shower thought about him today, which was, it's so ironic that Jenna, Alec's wife, got herself a new job, and she relocated into the same office campus that Cushman & Wakefield Atlantic that we are in.
Yep.
And then almost simultaneously on Jenna and Alec now coexisting in this office campus, which is what every married couple wants, because if you're not sick of each other at home, you may as well be sick of each other during the workday too.
Exactly.
We then go and sign a lease back over in Dartmouth for
Close
November. So just as Alec and Jenna fall in love, find their way into marriage, buy a home, and find their way together within the office environment, we rip ourselves away and go to Dartmouth. So sorry about that. The goal is, by the way, we're gonna make sure that every couple of years we move a few kilometers away to further separate you and Jenna until we're in Hantsport or something like that.
No, it's okay. If we're gonna eventually be out of Yarmouth, it is what it is.
It's a bit of a commute.
You won't see me in the office though.
No.
Less than you already do.
What we got next?
We got Insane as the Crane, and I'm excited about this one because I cooked this one up, and this is going to be a good one.
Insane is the crane. Insane is the crane. Kind of insane like the crane.
Me and Jenna were, speaking of Jenna before, we were, this was at the Nickelback concert, and we were all lined up, and the lines were crazy long. That could be its own Insane as the Crane, how that all went down. But as we were there, we're looking around, right? We've had a few drinks, and Jenna's like, wow. Who mows this lawn, this hill? It's crazy. It's always short. It's always nicely cut and trim. And I was like, you never really see a guy out there ripping it. So I take to Reddit. to like just look around, see what's going on.
The truth chest of
where the
Reddit.
truth lies. Lo and behold, there are these little robot mowers that traverse Citadel Hill on a daily basis at all times to keep it at a good length.
How have they not been? I have heard of this because the airport had them a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And they've given them names.
That's where I'm going with this. So I have the names, and I also have some suggestions for names. So here are some names. 2 of them are unnamed, I will say. I don't know why, so maybe they're waiting for submissions. But the 78th Highlander, Corporal Clippy, Prince Edweed, Triminator, Sergeant Snippy, Fortress Hallygrass, Sergeant Mower, and the Gray Lady. And 2 are unnamed. Very intriguing. But I thought it was really cool. I've never actually seen them in action. I'm going to be looking for them now. Of course, the comments on Reddit went in so many different directions.
You're going to have one on your home lawn the day you find one.
Oh,
You're going to rip it out of there.
I'm going to bring it home with me.
It's going to go all the way to Cole Harbor, although last time I checked it, Cole Harbor was high theft area anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, no. Come on now. Let's go down that direction. So I made up some of my own. That if I were to name them, here's how I would name them. Then I have a couple really good ones, and then I'll let you give your thoughts on the robot.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because one of the topics was about taking away jobs from people who could actually be out doing it, so we can touch on that. So here's some names I have from notable Nova Scotia people / landmarks. Sydney Sodsby.
That's good. Okay, I'm going to keep quiet. I want to go through them.
Anne Mowray. Andy Phil Mower. And last but not least, Spring Garden Mode. And then I made 2 just for me and you. I have Alec Cranston, always rooting for better deals. And I have James Clippins, always cutting deals to the right length.
I love it.
Thank you.
We need to get some of our own. We need to
brand
get
that.
for the new office. We need to get Roombas, the little robot
many as we can.
vacuums, and just. Oh no, that won't go with the grass cutting theme.
No, we can still get. We got different names.
Yeah, we could.
Vacushman.
You're quick. Look, I like these.
I know.
I think it's a good thing. I just want to put one thing on the record here. Do you know what I was doing the night that you were at the Nickelback concert?
Fighting a fire.
No. I have no clue what I was doing, but I know in my head it was better than being at the Nickelback concert.
Oh, come on, man. It was unreal.
I can't believe
so good.
I can't believe a shit band created such a stir in the city.
Oh, it was unreal. I will say, I'll give you context on the line. It started, like in terms of the back of the caboose, Alehouse, or where Alehouse was, I should say. It went all the way down, whatever that would be. Not Brunswick, sorry. Sackville Street. All the way down Sackville Street, corner of the YMCA, take a right, head all the way down, like past the entrance to the Wanderers, hook a right up, I think it's Bell
Street. Yeah, Bell Street.
All the way around Citadel. So you're going up there, keep going. That went all the way down to almost the Good Robot Beer Garden. It's a little corner roundabout, and then it looped again and came straight back to where it was in the entrance, which the entrance would have been about midway, right at the start of Citadel, the high school.
So from Insane as the Crane to another insane story, we've been playing Harbor of Lies for a while now. We state a story or a fact about Halifax that we claim to be true, and the other person can pick holes, ask questions, and then they have to decide if it's true or if it lives in the
Harbor of Lies.
And it is my turn this week. I think
Felt like
I'm
Days of Our Lives.
pretty even on when I've given a lie and a true story. And if it's a lie, you have to think hard or go into ChatGPT. If it's true, I'll tell you now, you gotta dig really hard because the stories about Halifax most people know. So if I decide this month I'm doing something true, which I'm claiming this month is, then you've got to dig really, 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 really hard. Okay, so I dug so hard for this one. I ended up, Jen was asleep, and I ended up on my phone last night still digging through the internet because everything I found was like, yeah, but I know this, yeah, but I know this, yeah, but I know this. I ended up on a blog and I found something. So
okay,
I'm going to give you this story.
Excited.
And it's not even really that outlandish this month, but I just think it's interesting and I want you to decide. So,
okay.
Game begin.
I've got a page of notes here. So this is going all the way back to 2021. HRM's communication office started using a new social media post scheduling system, okay, which are these systems where you can pile up a week's worth of content, and then it fires them off at schedules. And you can link multiple accounts. There was a junior staffer in their corporate communications office who also happened to have his own HRM parody account. And there's a lot of these parody accounts out there, which sort of mimic what HRM's Facebook and Twitter and everything else are doing, but in parody form. And this individual, because he was still working from home, had his parody account and he had his HRM account, the official account, all linked to this scheduling software. So it was a Tuesday morning. The last tweet on Halifax's Twitter account was about curbside collection. And then he uploaded a tweet, which he meant to put on his parody account, but he accidentally uploaded it to HRM's Twitter. Okay? And I've got the tweet here. I've got a screenshot of the tweet.
I'm a big Twitter guy, so I'm really... Let's see what happens here.
So it reads, "Another visionary idea from our donair-loving goblin of a planning director." Pretty derogatory. "Maybe next time we should zone a park into a Tim Hortons. #clown show, #HRM fails." He accidentally posted this to the HRM Twitter account instead of his parody account. It was live for an hour and 19 minutes on HRM's Twitter account, calling the planning director a donair-loving goblin. It got hundreds of likes. People quoted it. A sitting councillor responded to the tweet with 2 fire emojis, right? And I've eliminated it from the tweet, but the director of planning, this was all over a controversial infilling housing proposal, was tagged by name. So it got deleted an hour and 19 minutes after it was posted. When the dude realized what he did, HRM issued a short statement saying that it was a scheduling issue with third-party software, but of course journalists picked up on it and the internet went a little bit crazy. The staffer's name was never released. He wasn't fired from HRM. He was reassigned departments. And the best thing is that the planning director later commented saying, "I don't even like donairs." So that's my harbor of lies. I'm not going to name the planning director because I don't want to bring a name into this. So to shorten it, junior staffer on HRM's communications team also happens to run a parody account. He has them both linked to some new scheduling software. He meant to upload it to his parody account, but he tweeted on HRM's Twitter account, "Another visionary idea from our donair-loving goblin of a planning director. Maybe next time we should zone a park into a Tim Hortons." And it was live for an hour and 20 minutes.
Hour 19.
Hour and 19.
Gotcha. No, kidding.
That's my story.
Wow. I mean, like... The tricky thing is I'm so tuned into Twitter, X, or whatever. I would have heard of this, but I didn't, and that's what confuses me. Is unless I just really was tuned out of Twitter in 2021, which to be fair, I was, because there was a new Spider-Man movie coming out that year, so I avoided social media like the plague to not get spoiled.
And they all died.
And one person died, but. Oh man, that's good because it's believable. I'm interested that you brought this up in general. Like you brought up something that could look bad on HRM, which is interesting. So
yeah, I'm not naming the individual.
No, I know you're not naming, but it wouldn't be a hard Google search either.
And I will tell you, there was another one that happened like 4 years before this about somebody that we know really well in HRM, you and I personally, and I was going to mention it. But I decided not to because of them and our connection to them. Okay. But this was all on the same blog post, was these kind of faux pas that have happened at City Hall.
Oh, and you say, so he wasn't fired. This person wasn't fired. They were just reassigned?
This is what the city do. They never fire people. Okay. They pick you up and they move you along. So this was a junior communications director, probably fairly low skilled. He could serve in multiple other departments. They don't want to fire him and give him severance and have an employment tribunal, so they just went, "Hey, you're not doing comms anymore. You're doing crisis management. Don't talk about donair-loving goblins."
Oh, trying to think here. Was it on the news at all, or no?
Journalists picked up on it. Yep.
Journalists picked up on
it wasn't a huge thing, but when I found this online, I googled the incident separately. There's not much, but there's stuff.
Is there anything on Reddit about it?
Yes, hit Reddit and a couple of the smaller Waterfront Media and some of those smaller things. It's like there wasn't CBC material, put it that way. Also, they would never publish something like that about the city because they may be in codes.
There's multiple things here. Here's how I break this down. Why I think you're full of shit.
He's leaning towards a lie. Okay,
it's because I don't know. For my Harbor of Lies story, I had to dig deep for it. I don't know it until I found it, and like I'm gonna have to read this because I don't know the story until I found it last night. You're not even reading yours. You've been speaking, you've been answering questions, or even looking at your thing. I have answers to questions you're probably gonna ask.
It's because it's such a simple thing, Mike.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just surprised that I didn't hear about it. It doesn't shock me that it happened. I see this all the time on like TikTok and stuff. I've seen it where people will put like they run comms for certain brands, and then they comment on their regular they comment using the brand's account on some random TikTok or some random post. So it does happen.
You have a really nice pair of sneakers.
Exactly. The hashtag HRM fails feels a little like somebody of your era, not your era. I didn't mean that. I mean someone like HRM fails is something that you would say back in like 2004, not 2021. Okay. So I find that hashtag to be a bit dated. What was the other hashtag?
It was hashtag. I've actually got the. When we're done, I'll show it to you. Hashtag clown show.
Hashtag clown show. I that one makes sense. Is the C and the S capitalized or no?
One sec. I have just lost it. Let me scroll back on Microsoft Word here.
Full of shit. You're just clicking around.
Clicking around. No, it's not capitalized.
Not capitalized. No. What about HRM fails? Capitalized or no?
HRM is F isn't. Like I'm literally staring at the tweet.
Oh, I believe you're staring at something. All right, I'm gonna say you're full of shit. I'm gonna say it's a lie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Connor,
do you remember it or anything?
I've seen this happen before. This exact thing happened before, right? I've lived through this exact thing happening before. Oh, that's tough. I think to be controversial and to be on the other side of the argument, I will say that it's true.
Okay.
It just sounds really plausible as far as HRM goes.
It's definitely very plausible.
Doesn't change your mind, Alec. You're sticking with it's in the harbor of lies.
It's not like far-fetched. I'm like, this could have happened. I just think this particular scenario didn't happen. I do agree it happens all the time.
Okay.
I don't think this particular scenario happened. So.
Okay, the die is cast. Your answers are set. I will tell you that this is in the harbor of lies. And there's the tweet. It's ChatGPT because I had ChatGPT.
And you lied about the hashtag.
I did because you caught me out, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna know," so I lied about the hashtag.
Because I know ChatGPT makes the hashtags by capitalizing every word.
And the story about somebody else we know very strong, like closely, who did it, and was bullshit too. I was just trying to throw you off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't true.
No, I know that's good.
But do be careful, HRM, because you could do it.
I know it could happen. Be careful. This is a warning to all. This could happen.
So that was Harbor of Lies. What have we now got coming up next here on this podcast here right now, Alec?
Look, I'll tell you this. I don't know if a hero could save us, but this next guest could. Look at this guest. All right, everybody. We are here with David Regan, the CEO of Sona Nanotech. David, thank you for coming in today on our podcast.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you, James. It's a delight to be here, and if I may say so, I'm quite excited to be here. So looking forward to chatting.
Us too.
Awesome. Us too. Let's kick it off. Just normally we do a little bit of intro about a company, but I'd like to hear from you just a bit of an intro about Sona Nanotech, kind of how it got its start. I actually. One of the main guys that started, Dr. Marangoni, was a professor of mine at St. FX.
Excellent.
So really cool to see that. So just a little bit of a summary of how it got going and what its primary objective is and how things are going.
Happy to get into that a little bit. So the history goes way back, and of course the lesson we all learn is that necessity is the mother of invention. And in this case, we had one of our co-founders, Kulbir Singh, who was working with Dr. Marangoni at St. FX and needed to branch off from Dr. Marangoni, who was head of the chemistry department there, to pursue his own research in order to obtain funding. Kulbir at that point dug into what he found to be a great conundrum in nanotechnology, was that of all the different particles, of all the different shapes and sizes of these little pieces of metal and whatnot, the gold nanorod was recognized as being the most functional because it had an aspect ratio, a length and a width, so it could be tuned to resonate with certain wavelengths. But everyone also knew that you couldn't use it in the body because in order to elongate it, turn it into a rod shape, required this toxic substance. So he set about, along with Dr. Marangoni, solving that, effectively mediating that conundrum.
And what are they? So let's go to the practical use. Tell us what you're doing.
Sure. And I'm going to give a little bit more context because, of course, nanotechnology can be intimidating to start with if people have this background of thinking, okay, well, I don't know exactly what that means. But here's the thing. We've got the metric scale, we've got the nanoscale, and then there's the atomic scale. So it's just orders of magnitudes of size. It's really small things near atomic scale. And of course, when in particular pieces of we use gold are that small, they have slightly different properties than they do have writ large. And you can do really interesting things with them when they're about the same size as certain molecules in the body.
Okay. And to the practical use, so you've got this great technology. What's it being used for?
Right. Well, the technology is great because, as we say, it's got this functionality associated with it. You can do really interesting things. And what is unique about us is, thanks to our founders, we are the only ones, and it's patented, that can make these gold nanorods without the use of toxins, and therefore ideally suited for in vivo applications. So what are we doing with it? Well, we started out working on using them with rapid tests as pregnancy tests, COVID tests, et cetera. And part of that drive was because we needed, revenue. As a startup company, you need revenue, and there's a near-term aspect. When I came on board, my limited research on it showed that there's a great deal of research, a body of knowledge from around the world that have been looking at this type of technology for cancer therapies. And when I asked, why are we not doing this? Why is the company not focused on that? Well, it's a much longer road for the company. The fellow we have running the company, Darren Rolls, is excellent. He has a background in making rapid tests. And so we were pursuing that at the time. However, we have gradually pivoted towards what is, frankly, the highest and best use for this technology. Even though it's a longer road, we've made great advancements in the past few years chasing it. And so we're now using it for a cancer therapy that I'm happy to talk about.
Unbelievable. Just one quick question, just on the mechanism of it. Before I got into this and real estate, I came from a healthcare background, so I was very intrigued to dig into the research and see how much I could hopefully interpret. So from what my interpretation is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is these gold nanorods are absorbing infrared heat, and it's re-emitted as like a therapeutic level of heat. Is that, and then that therapeutic level of heat, is that enacting an immune response in the body? Is it shrinking the tumor? Is it making the tumor more accessible to our immune response? Is that sort of the mechanism what's going on? Okay,
so there's a lot there that let's unpack. And,
yeah, please
let's say it's close.
Yeah, okay.
But breaking it down piece by piece. So the beauty of these nanoparticles, and they're nanostars, nanospheres, nanocubes, nanoshells, these nanorods, as I say, have an aspect ratio. You can tune them to a wavelength. So what we do with them is we inject them into a tumor. Once injected, we then point a near-infrared light source that is tuned to the same wavelength as those little gold nanorods. And in fact, what happens is they act like little tuning rods. Okay? You think of a tuning fork, hit it and it starts to ring. The near-infrared light, it's just like you think of a red laser pointer. If you put that at your finger, it doesn't hurt, and yet it lights up your finger. So this, at certain wavelengths, and this is about 860 nanometer wavelength, it passes harmlessly through about 2.5 centimeters of tissue. So doesn't hurt the tissue in the meantime. But when it hits those gold nanorods, they start to vibrate. And that vibration causes heat. Heat kills cancer. So what we're doing is we're heating the tumor from the inside out without causing collateral damage. And that's especially so because we limit the heat to about 45 degrees Celsius. And at that point, cancer cells are frankly quite fragile, and they're killed off, whereas healthy cells are okay until 50, 52 degrees. So that's the approach. So we can be very selective without harm. Now, to the point on, so what happens when you heat these tumors and these cells? Number one, yes, they causes what they call an apoptotic cell death. And that's an important thing we'll come back to in a little bit. But number one, that does shrink the tumors. And we've shown that in preclinical models. We're now in a human trial. It's fascinating to see. But what, from the story of our little company, Sona Nanotech, was interesting is that we were pursuing that, and we were very excited about this concept. And we'd had previous studies that showed it shrinks tumors in mice. And then when we started doing some diligence on, okay, well, what type of cancer should we go after first, we connected with a local surgical oncologist. And when I took him through this and explained to him how we shrunk tumors, he just rolled his eyes at me and said, "You guys actually have no idea what's really going on here and how big this actually is." And of course, he said, not only is it shrinking, like the method of apoptotic cell death, sure, it shrinks the tumor. That's kind of a mechanical function. But when you cause that apoptotic cell death, neoantigens are released. New antigens that have not been in the body are created through the death of those cells. And antigens cause your immune system, particularly new ones, to wake up and say, hey, wait a second, what's that over there? That's a foreign thing to us. We've never seen that before. And it causes the immune system to suddenly engage. And that is the key you want for fighting cancer.
Wow. So how would this, if we talk in sort of real terms, how would this differ from standard cancer treatments today? It's really a twofold question. Is does it replace any of the standard chemotherapy or radiotherapy? And, cancer affects every family. We know that going through treatment is tough on the body. It is really tough. It takes people to the limit of being sick and exhaustion mentally and physically. How does your treatment differ? Is it a little kinder on the patient?
It is kinder, and there's been a history, of course, in cancer research and therapy and development of those therapies where things have gotten better over the last, 50, 60 years by leaps and bounds in some cases. And you think of, chemo, radiation, surgery, all have their risks. Now, we made great advancements 15 years ago with immunotherapy. And immunotherapy effectively was an advancement that allowed your body to trick itself, because oftentimes your body is not engaging to attack the cancer and shut it down, because this is, there are mutations of cells happening all the time in your body that your immune system is generally shutting down and dealing with. Right. But your immune system, in many cases, doesn't want to attack you, and it'll think the cancer is you in some cases. So these immunotherapies have been inhibitors that have sort of checkpoint inhibitors that stop your body from doing that. And that was a great advancement. That said, there's toxicity associated with immunotherapy, and the number one immunotherapy in the world, Keytruda, $50 billion a year drug.
Wow.
By Merck's own admission, works about 21% of the time, depending on the cancer. Melanoma, 33%, et cetera. And there'd be a wide variability in this. And in fact, when I confronted our now chief medical officer and my partner, Dr. Carmen Giacomo-Antonio, with this, he was actually quite defensive and said, look, they've done a lot of good, so, it can't be too critical of this. And yet what we've found is that, particularly in our preclinical mouse studies that were done at Dalhousie University here through his lab, is that when combined with our therapy, those drugs would work, those types of drugs would work more frequently. So it feels like we're pursuing something that will sort of lift the game of existing treatments and do so in a really less invasive, less harmful manner.
Yeah, so you mentioned did some testing on mice, but I was reading up, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did you just recently have your first in-human clinical trial in Chile on late-stage melanoma patients?
That's right.
Just walk us through a bit about what the results have shown, like what's public, and kind of what you're hoping to see from that as that progresses along with those in-human trials.
Sure. So to get to the point where you've got, frankly, a right to start doing this sort of thing in humans, you've got to show a body of knowledge in preclinical studies. And typically it's done in mice. And by the way, what we've described here is our therapy. We call it targeted hyperthermia therapy. and that's hyperthermia, not hypothermia. The distinction in the direction of hot and cold there. In any event, it has been shown in preclinical studies to have, limited to no negative effects, and yet some really great efficacy that we've seen in 3 different types of cancers. And this is a medical device. It's not a drug, and so there are different pathways that one pursues from a regulatory perspective, whether it's a drug or device. In the case of this device, we needed to show that it doesn't do harm, and hopefully that it does some good. That's been shown to a large extent in mice. When you're dealing with the immune system, things that translate from mice to human translate more often than, let's say, drugs. And oftentimes you're testing drugs in animals and you don't know if that's going to happen, if that's going to have the same efficacy. Here we think the research shows there's a greater ability to translate. So with standing on the research done by many others and published in peer-reviewed journals, as well as our own peer-reviewed research, we went into our first in-human clinical trial in Santiago, Chile, about 2 months ago. And the goal here is there's a recognition that, you can't fully develop a therapy or a device until you've tested it in a few people, but the risk needs to be mitigated. Mm-hmm. So it's with 10 patients. Now, in our case, the inclusion criteria for the study are for patients with late-stage melanoma who are on the current standard of care, which generally is immunotherapy, but this is the best medicines in the world, and not responding to it.
Okay.
These patients are sadly, prior to coming into the study, destined to die. Okay? And the best things in the world have not worked for them. We come in with our therapy, we'll see what happens. It comes from that. Mm-hmm. That's the objective here. But you need to know when you go to a Health Canada or an FDA to get an approval for a device, they're not so concerned with efficacy. Okay? You want to bring Jell-O as a treatment for something, what they want to know is, are you going to hurt anyone? Okay? Right. If you're not going to hurt anyone, if you can market that as something, great. Well, good for you. Who are we to stop you kind of concept. Not quite that black and white, but you get the idea. Their number one concern is safety. So that's the starting point.
And what does the timeline look like on the testing?
So we're about halfway through now, and as we've just provided an update to the market, and that based on the clinical results and biopsies to date, we have reason to be optimistic. That said, we're not going to be providing any results until we've got the full picture. And once we've been through the 10 patients and have that data, we hope that to be by the end of September. My colleague Carmen is in Santiago today as we speak, treating patients, overseeing the treatment of patients. Mm-hmm. It's a clinical trial. There's a principal investigator. We're not the hands-on folks, but it's important that we're there for guidance, and we want to have that for quality assurance and whatnot. Now, if we get those results at the end of September, we'll then want to run some analysis on the tissues and blood. And that'll require shipping those materials back up here. Okay. And what we're looking for in that assessment is, the first clinical assessment by the end of September might be, okay, well, is there shrinkage in tumor or not? Or has the growth been mitigated? What's the result of this? What's more important, frankly, is have we triggered an immune system response? Have we changed the immune system to learn about these tumors and the cells in them and the antigens associated with them so that the immune system can attack and hopefully there's a long-term ability to continue fighting it.
Interesting. And to pivot sort of away from some of the specifics of the technology, we're a Halifax podcast. I've said this to other guests, and I'll repeat it here, is I can throw anybody in a car, and I can drive them through Burnside, and they're going to see a bunch of industrial units. What they don't know is we're literally changing the world behind those doors. We just don't see it. And frankly, in Atlantic Canada, we don't talk about it enough. We don't sing our praises. So, how important is Atlantic Canada to you with what you're doing? You've obviously run trials at Dalhousie. You're very proud, I'm sure, to be bringing this out of an area which, frankly, you wouldn't associate with this kind of breakthrough.
It's true, and it's not just marketing. It has been an essential component of what we've done, and the fact that there are, as we joked about before the podcast, 1 degree of separation. Well, that can have real positive effects when you're trying to do something quickly. And when you have access to world-class universities like Dalhousie and St. Francis Xavier University, Dr. Marangioni's lab there, etc., things can happen faster. It was a chance meeting, frankly, that brought Dr. Giacomo Antonio to us, frankly, through Halifax Connection. It's important, and there are not just ourselves, but many companies that are under the radar and doing really important things. It's meaningful to us, and I think you're really going to see the power of that local connection when we move to our next human study. Of course, in drugs, we think of phase 1, phase 2. In devices, it's early feasibility first, and then pilot study. Pilot studies, probably 30 to 40 patients. And we look to be able to do that here in Atlantic Canada, based in Halifax, and that will bring significant benefits in terms of the speed and ease. The other model would be you go to the U.S. and you pay $10 million to a clinical research organization, and you say, please run this study for us. And sure, you can do that, but doing it here will enable it to be more efficient, faster, and help people in our backyards.
I want to talk a bit about COVID-19. And
sure.
Because I remember Sona being in the news because for having that rapid pivot to generating the test, the COVID test. What sort of regulatory hurdles and stops did you see while you were doing that, and how did that process go down? And ultimately, what did you find that you and Sona Nanotech learned from that whole experience?
Sure, that was an intense period.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that we started out in rapid tests, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And in short, we developed one of the first rapid tests for COVID in the world. Now, we did not get it through the regulatory ringer all the way through. Perhaps not shocking when you think this is a company of 5, 6, 7 people that has never gotten a product through the regulatory ringer and commercialized it with limited Q&A systems, et cetera, first time. That does not negate the fact that we had one of the first ones, and we're proud of that as a team, and that's why we maintain the Sona Nanotech name. In fact, now being publicly listed, much to our chagrin, we became the first meme stock and plaything of the public markets, and so that led to an interesting year or two there. But it's something that we look back and say, look, our team did great work on that, didn't get it across the line, and some would say, look, we had no right to be even trying to develop a test like that against the Abbotts of the world. And I say that's not true, because the only instance in which we'd have a chance against an Abbott would be when there's a standing start. COVID suddenly hits, and everyone starts working on this stuff. And we were nimble, and we were able to partner with some random partners that had been, connection through GE, connected us with an outstanding outfit, SaudiVax, in Saudi Arabia, where COVID was much worse, therefore making it an ideal scenario to work with a number of just superb professionals, many of whom were trained at McGill and University of Ottawa, to get in and do an early trial there.
it's been the progress you guys have achieved so quickly is frankly outstanding. I'm sure things are going to pick up. Talk about the next 3-5 years for the company. We're not asking you to rub the crystal ball. We understand there's some stuff you probably can't talk about, but tell us what the big picture plans are, and we'll wrap up on that because I think we've captured a lot of really good stuff here.
Sure. Well, it is a real critical point for the company right now. You can imagine going into a human trial. Even with everything we've got in terms of the preclinical data, you don't know till you are in humans and to see what happens. Now, we are, as I've shared, very optimistic and very excited about it and keen to move forward on this. So what the next couple of years look like, ideally, from our perspective, is, we get these results back. We'll see what they look like, what they mean. What's really important is then taking those results, writing them up, and submitting them to journals for peer review, right? In this realm, people say, yeah, that's nice that you've got those results, but let's see the peer review and what journal did you get in and whatnot, because there's a bit of a hierarchy to this sort of thing. And to be able to publish that. That's what is the entry price to getting attention in the industry. So we take that, publish that, get on the scientific talking circuit to some extent. At the same time, we'll be kicking off, and in fact, we've already got ethics committee approval to start our next study, the pilot study here in Canada based in Halifax. Still needs Health Canada approval for that, but we're optimistic that will come, particularly when we have results from our early feasibility study. That will take 9 months to a year. And then at that stage, you roll into a pivotal trial, 100 to 200 patients. And that I would expect we're doing with a large partner. Our intention is not to start building out a regulatory affairs department, marketing and sales force, et cetera, only because it's so efficient for these big companies to do what they've done so many times before effectively. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do that pivotal trial in the US.
Okay.
Given the considerations here for the markets.
Okay. Lots of exciting stuff. The future's looking good.
Yeah, we've got to have you back on at some point, I think.
And ultimately, let's keep our eyes on the prize here. The goal is to be treating humans within that time frame and helping people.
Yeah.
And I look forward to talking more about it once we've got the actual results coming out of Chile.
Absolutely.
Because there are some people there who, they need this stuff.
We'll be doing some regular check-ins for sure. This has been great. We really appreciate your time. The insights were incredible. The detail you've given is perfect for us. So thank you so much.
More great stuff coming out of Halifax.
Absolutely.
This is the thing.
It's a prime example of why we do this podcast.
Every time I chat to people back home, they see Nova Scotia as Cape Breton and rugged coastlines.
That's what they see.
Exactly. And to my point 10 minutes ago, it's like, come here, I'll show you we are changing the world. This is another example of that. We wish you all the best. Thanks so much for coming in, David.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be part of some of the great things that are going on.
But you can get more of us. You can subscribe on any good podcast provider.
Thanks,
you can follow us on Instagram at Matter
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Matter of Facts podcast.
You can send it by email to halifaxpodcast@gmail.com. Please do get in touch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
And of course, you can always find James Collins and I on the internet